All right, today I want to talk about something that I don't usually talk about, which is the rank system in Deadlock. Now, if you go here to your skill rating, you see your rank, and there's also global leaderboards, but there's a lot of stuff that goes into the rank system, and the reality is we basically don't really know any of it, right? And today I want to talk about some recent changes that I believe were made to this, which might affect matchmaking, as well as try to figure this out as a community, because since Valve is so secretive about this, the only way that we can figure out exactly like what's going on is by sharing each other's perspectives and experiences, right? So I'd love for you guys in the chat to tell me what your experience has been recently with ranking up or ranking down, with examples that are as specific as possible. So don't just say, oh, I've been winning a lot recently. Like ideally, like, hey, I've won 20 games, lost 5, and I only moved, X amount, right? And I'm going to be doing that with you guys today and explain a little bit what's happened to me in the last couple of weeks, what's happened to my rank, and what I think Valve has done to the rank system, and why I think that they're doing these changes. So let's start with what's happened to my rank, right? So right now on the global leaderboards, in North America, I'm ranked 57. Now, just a few weeks ago, I was ranked, I believe, somewhere around like 34, 35-ish, right? Just like maybe 2 weeks ago. And if you look at my win rate, and I'll show you guys my stat locker real quick so you guys can see. But if you look at my win rate on stat locker, over the last 200 games, I have a 59% win rate. Okay, that's pretty high, right? And given that the average match rank I'm playing in is a turn of 6, I have a 59% win rate over the last 200 games. So what that indicates to me is that 59% win rate, I should be continuously climbing. Now, there's a few things that are going into this, but if you look here, right, like it tracks the leaderboard a little bit, so you can see like I've been going down despite overall winning. Okay. And there's one thing that's very interesting that I want to show. So recently you can see like I went down almost 11 spots from number 48 to number 59. I know it's probably very small on your screens. Okay. But one thing I want to show you is what that looks like on Stat Locker. So this is my page when I go down from number 48 to number 59. As you can see, as far as like the Stat Locker performance grades, right, it's pretty bad. I'm number 8, number 9, number 7, number 4, number 12, number 6, etc. So it's not really looking so hot. And that can be explained by the fact that 1, I'm playing a very unique Victor playstyle, and 2, the Grey Talon games, I'm just learning a new hero. I've literally never played Grey Talon. So of course I'm going to be terrible. And you look at my KDs, it's like, it's not really that bad, but my overall impact on the game is not great. And I agree with the ratings. I do feel like my impact on the game is not great. And I have gotten a little bit maybe lucky as far as like being able to win some of these games. But if you look at the previous page, right, where I've got a lot of very high stat locker ranks, and that's when my rank kind of went from number 60 all the way to number 48. So I climbed 12 leaderboard spots. But if you look at the differences in win rate, so here I have 2 losses on this page, and here on this page, I've got 3 losses. So overall, it's pretty similar, right? And yet, from one of these pages, I went from rank 60 to rank 48. And then from another one of these pages, I, went from rank 48 to rank number 59. So it kind of like basically fully reversed the MMR I'd gained. What the hell is going on, right? Like, how is it possible that despite winning a large majority of my games, I'm still going down slightly in rank? And obviously it's not dramatic or anything, but it is still like my MMR, which is what they're using behind ranks to track it, right? The number that they're using to track me, it's changing. Despite me having a positive win rate, it's changing downwards. So my best guess is that they've introduced some sort of performance tracking of some kind, right? Now, I'm not saying that they do the same thing as Stat Locker, of course. Valve has access to probably way more metrics than, any other third-party website has. But recently, there was a post that showed, hey, like, they're tracking, like, wall jumps and all these things. Now, I do want to debunk that post a little bit. As far as, like, some of these metrics, like wall jumps per minute and all of these other, like, weird metrics, it's something they've been tracking for a decent amount of time. And I doubt that those metrics actually affect rank. My best guess is that those metrics are in an effort to kind of, like, counter smurfs, right? So, probably, Deadlock is a unique game in the sense that, there's a lot of ways that you can move around the map. And there's a lot of ways where your player inputs will indicate to someone that you're a lot better than you should be if it's your first game, right? Someone whose first game is not going to be like sliding around a lot. If there is performance-based metrics in a MOBA, that can be a little problematic, right? I've talked about in the past why I don't personally think performance-based metrics should be a thing in a MOBA, because it's very, very difficult to actually judge. I think that the only times where performance-based metrics make sense is on fresh accounts, when you're trying to detect like, hey, is this guy a smurf? Obviously, if this guy plays his first game and he goes, 30-3 or 30-0 or something crazy, then I do think that there should be some sort of detection for that. So okay, for the first couple of games, yeah, we do have some detection to make sure that, hey, if someone's a smurf, you know, you rank them up very quickly so that they don't stay in low rank games and ruin those. But other than that, once you get to a certain rank, I don't really feel like one playstyle should be incentivized more than another. At the end of the day, no matter what your stats look like, maybe you got like one kill that really swung the entire game, right? Like you got that one kill that turned the game around. For example, I played Grey Talon, I kind of like threw the whole game, but towards the end of the game, I got a super key kill on Mina, right? And then she was dead for 90 seconds. We were able to turn it around and get mid boss because of that. That's the kind of impact that can't easily be measured by stats. So obviously, like, you can always get the stats to be more sophisticated and measure it, but I think it is a bit of a dangerous road. So I'm slightly concerned about that. But you know, I do understand why they would do it, right? So let's talk a little bit about, well, first of all, let me know in the comments if you've had, you know, rank changes that don't feel like they correlate very much with your win-loss, but rather with your performance. So do you feel like when you're having like really good games, your rank goes up faster than that? Let me know in the comments, because that's what it's felt like for me. And I have a little bit of data to show you guys, right? I showed you guys on StatLocker, showed you guys my win rate. And despite both those things, you know, my rank does not seem to be following that exactly. Now, once you guys share that in the comment, the other thing I want to discuss is why they would possibly want to do that, right? Because I don't think it's coming out of nowhere. And one of the big complaints that a lot of people have had is, hey, my rank is like not moving quickly. Like I was an Archon because, I don't know, I was bad at the game. I played with some friends, etc. And now I have 500 games. I didn't improve that quickly. And now I'm an Archon and I feel like my rank barely moves. You know, that's a complaint that I get very, very often. So I think that by having more metrics like this, Valve is probably hoping to, in part, solve this issue of not having people stay in a rank for too long where maybe they don't belong, right? And you could argue, like, but even with the old system, they would get out of the rank. It's not a question that they would get stuck there. They would get out of it eventually if you maintained a positive enough win rate. It would just take you a really long time, and I think that that brought a lot of frustrations. Now, Deadlock is still in a playtest, and honestly, the ranked mode is not really like, I mean, it's not fleshed out at all, right? Like, there's no unranked queue. It's all ranked, and it's all unranked, which kind of causes a lot of other issues that we could talk about. But, you know, Deadlock's not quite ready for that yet. It'll be soon, probably. But whenever the game goes open beta, whatever that is, I think that that's when we should expect to have systems like this. But regardless, the first reason why they would do something like this, in my opinion, is to make it so that you don't get stuck in your rank as long as you did previously, especially if you're having very good individual performances. The second reason, I believe, is probably to combat smurfs. So, you know, we know there's a lot of smurfs right now, especially in higher ranks, but I would say pretty much all ranks. I mean, you guys can let me know if your experience is varied, but, you know, there's definitely a decent amount of smurfs, and that's because smurfing it's reportable, but to be honest, I've never seen anyone get banned for smurfing. Like, not one person. I haven't seen anyone's alt account get banned for smurfing, and like people are like blatantly smurfing, like on stream, like in front of everyone, and there's no punishment, right? And if you're not banning the people that are like literally smurfing in front of like a big audience, then you're definitely not banning anyone for smurfing. That's my take, right? I don't really think anyone's getting banned right now. But, you know, having something like performance-based, etc., should make it so that the smurfs also like get out of those ranks quicker, and that it's harder to like kind of like, I guess, fake being a lower rank. I mean, you can always fake it. Obviously, you can always play bad on purpose, but that's probably at least part of what they're doing. And I doubt that Valve is like happy with the smurf situation, and I'm sure that they want to address it. It's probably just not a priority for them right now. But as for those of you that haven't seen in Dota, like in Dota, there's been a lot of like smurf ban waves, and you know, they've been like harsher on smurfs, etc. over the years. So I doubt that they want Deadlock to be a game that's, you know, riddled by smurfs. And I'm sure that they're taking measures. And like I talked about earlier at the beginning of the video, there are things that they can measure that make detecting smurfs in Deadlock easier, right? Like in a new player, you're not going to be spamming slide, you're not going to be dash jumping right away, you're not going to be like edge boosting, like all of these things that are more like, I guess, I don't want to say high skill, but like you kind of have to know the game to know these things, right? And I think that gives like really, really good tools for Valve to be able to detect smurfs. And other than that, not really, I can't really think of any other reasons why Valve would be combating this. Now, like I said, we don't actually really know what's going on, right? Because Valve doesn't really communicate these things. And it's probably a good thing that they don't communicate these things, because you don't want people to be able to game the system. But I think if we just talk about it a little bit in the comments, we can probably get a decent idea of what's going on. Now, the last point that I want to touch is, like, has this affected matchmaking? So as far as matchmaking changes, you know, a lot of people were saying, you know, this has affected matchmaking, etc. I don't know if you guys have noticed it in your matchmaking games. Obviously, I'm kind of like in a very, I'm not in the same situation as a lot of you guys, where I play against the same players pretty much no matter what. So matchmaking sometimes feels good, sometimes doesn't feel good, but it's kind of always similar-ish for me. I'm curious how this has felt for you guys in matchmaking, right? How's the fact that the rank changes seem to be happening quicker and they seem to be happening a little bit more differently, has that affected the quality of your games positively or negatively? And try to think about it objectively, because very often we tend to be negative towards matchmaking. Like, nobody really says when matchmaking is better. People tend to only complain when matchmaking is bad, but nobody ever says like matchmaking is good right now. So try to think about it. Like, think about the games that you played in the last, like, I want to say this is definitely like in the last week or two max. Don't go further than that, but in the last week or two, and just think about, were the games like higher quality? Right, and I'm gonna guess that it probably helped a little bit, but I'm not sure it's gonna create like a massive change or anything like that. At the end of the day, there's still gonna be a lot of variance, especially if people's rank is moving even faster. That might create more variance, but I really have no idea. So I hope that by sharing stuff in the comments, it might enlighten the situation for us a little bit. That's it for the video. I just wanted to have a really quick talk with you guys about kind of like the rank change situation, and discuss what we know, what we don't know. Basically, we don't really know anything, to be honest. So it's kind of like one of those things where we're just, you know, we're just shooting in the dark and hoping that we get something. The only thing that we do know is, I think Yoshi put a message in the Discord that said that they were working on some things for long queue times, but like, you know, that doesn't seem to be affecting rank changes at all. In fact, affecting long queue times might make matchmaking worse, if anything, because you're trying to force players into matches faster. But who knows? Or it was just a bug. Regardless, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you guys tonight for the night shift watch party on my channel. All right, bye-bye.